All right, so now I'm going to go to what's called strategic withdrawal. And this is not so much a special rule. I guess it is. But it's something that happens in the game. So when in the starting step, where you would normally roll for reserves, you're going to check this. What the defender does is count how many platoons are on the table. Not in reserves, not the number killed, what's left on the table. So let's say I have, or I shouldn't say the opponent, whose ever turn it is. So let's say I have this left on the table. I have 3 platoons on the table. I have a Sherman platoon, a machine gun platoon, and an infantry platoon. I count how many's out there. 1, 2, 3. Is it 5 or more? It's like trying to bring in an aircraft, trying to roll for reserves at 5. So do I have 5 or more platoons on the table? No. So in that case, I would just get, I'm going to use a penny for this, I would get a counter. Now I don't put it out, I put it off to the side. I don't leave that on the table. I'm just putting it out here for explanation purposes. So then I just go through my normal reserves and everything else. Next turn comes around. And it's time to check for reserves. Do I have 5 or more? 1, 2, 3. No. But I also now count this. 4. Nope, didn't make it. So I'm going to grab another counter. And these are called delay counters. So I have 2 delay counters. Okay, the next turn comes around. Count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I hit 5. When I hit 5, I get rid of all the delay counters I have. No matter how many I have, I get rid of all of them. I now have to withdraw one of these platoons from the game. So how do you withdraw? It's pretty simple. I just pick one of these platoons. So let's say I'm going to pick the machine gun. They're gone. Now, they're not considered destroyed. So the opponent doesn't get to count them as one of the platoons that's destroyed for points and stuff like that. It's just they've withdrawn from the battlefield, which is what I kind of want to happen as a defender. But there are a few stipulations. Let me take these off. So I'm going to put this platoon out here. And this is the platoon I'm withdrawing. So they're out here. And I'm deciding I'm withdrawing them. I'm fine. I can withdraw those. No problem. However, this platoon was shot up earlier in the game, and they've lost 3. So I'm going to put these down here, where you can see the 3 that have been destroyed sometime during the game. And so when I'm ready to withdraw, I have more teams destroyed than the platoon started with. It doesn't matter when they got destroyed. It's just when I'm ready to withdraw this platoon, I've had more teams destroyed than have survived. I can just get rid of these as usual. Boom, withdrawn. But I'm going to put a special situation in here now. So remember, these are destroyed, so they're not even on the table. I'm just putting these out here for demonstration. But there is a German team up here. If I have any one of these teams within, bring it out here, 8 inches of any enemy team, there's a chance they're destroyed. So it first has to be that they're below half. More teams destroyed than still fighting. I'm ready to withdraw them, but there's an enemy team within 8 inches. That's when this is going to trigger. If they're at full value, even like this, I've had 2 destroyed but 3 surviving, I don't have to do this. So I've had more teams destroyed than surviving, and enemy teams within 8 inches, and I'm wanting to withdraw them. So there's still a chance that these are destroyed. So how do we find out if they're destroyed or not? Basically, when I'm wanting to take these guys off, I have to do a skill check for them. So that's that 3, 4, 5. 3 being fearless, or not fearless, 3 being veteran, 4 trained, 5 conscripts. So if they're conscripts, there's a good chance that they're going to be destroyed. If they are veteran, 3 or higher, you're okay. So let's say these guys are trained. So I'm wanting to withdraw them. Got more destroyed than surviving. They're within 8 inches of an enemy team. I need a 4 or higher to have these guys survive. And I rolled a 4. I can withdraw them. They are considered withdrawn, not destroyed. But let's say I roll. I can't do it. 6, 6. All right, here we go. A 2. I rolled a 2. Fail. They are destroyed. It's just like they shot him up and killed everybody in that platoon. It turned into a rout for them. So that's how part of the strategic withdrawal goes. Count how many platoons you have. If you don't have 5 or more, start adding the markers and count those markers as part of the platoon. Once you have 5 or more, they're gone. You're going to start all over again. And you get to withdraw a platoon. If platoon, I can't say the word. If the platoon is not more destroyed than still fighting, just withdraw them. But if they have more destroyed than fighting and within 8 inches of enemy team, make that skill check to see if they withdraw successfully. Now, I will also say that if the platoon is withdrawn successfully, just don't count them at all for platoon morale checks. So that platoon doesn't count towards you, but it doesn't count against you either. If they were destroyed, I was trying to withdraw them and I failed that skill check, then they do count as a destroyed platoon against me if I'm the one withdrawing, as far as do I need to make the company morale check. And it would count against me. So just keep that in mind. All right, the last part of this strategic withdrawal is not only withdrawing your platoons during the game, but it also has to do with withdrawing the objective markers. So in the game, you would put one objective, and this is defender. So I'm playing as the defender in this, the one that has to do the withdrawals. So I would get to put one objective marker down. My opponent's going to get to put 2 objective markers down. So these are the objective markers in the game. Normally you wouldn't do it like this, but just for explanation purposes. So at the start of turn 6, so I can't do this till turn 6. Remember, with the platoons, we count till we get 5 or more, including any delay counters. Okay, then we start withdrawing our platoons during the game. However, with the objective marker, the phased objective withdrawal, this doesn't happen till turn 6. And what you're going to do is, as a defender, you're going to remove an objective placed by the attacker. So I cannot remove this objective. I get to choose between these two. And if these are spread out on the table and the opponent's really hoarded around this one, I can take that one away. Now, these 2 are the only objectives left in the game. Then turn 7 comes around. I'm able to then take away the other one they placed. So the one objective that does not get removed is the one I placed. The one my opponent placed are the ones that get removed, and that's starting turn 6, and then at turn 7. So one of the things that could happen is, let's say this is the objective my opponent put down, and I'm withdrawing, and they're up here, so if it starts his turn, he's won the game, because he's captured this objective. Well, it is now turn 6 for me. I go, no. That objective's gone. There's no way when it starts their turn, they can capture that objective. The game will go on. So you could kind of like steal the win from them in that case. But you only get to remove one objective, and it has to be the opponent's. So 1 on turn 6 and 1 on turn 7. Next rule I want to talk about is over the wire. And this is basically going to be in the mission. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, called No Man's Land. Let me bring this up where you can see it. There we go. So No Man's Land Trench Warfare. And that's basically the mission you play when there's 2 fortified companies battling each other. So this special rule is only when 2 fortified companies are going to be battling each other. What it basically is you have what's called obstacles, which are like barbed wire entanglements. Now I don't have everything, so like your barbed wire entanglement, street barricades, minefields, booby traps, and anti-tank obstacles. Normally you would put them in your deployment zone. However, you get to put them on the opponent's side of the table. However, it can't be within 8 inches of the center line. So go from the center line of the table 8 inches into the opponent's side of the table and deploy it anywhere in there, including their deployment zone, including no man's land. So those are the only things you can place in there. Now, what you have to place on your side are the fortifications, such as bunkers and entrenchments. Those go on your side. So the obstacles go on the opponent's side. Those are like the barbed wire, minefields, and stuff like that. But fortification, bunkers, and entrenchments, those go on your side of the table in your deployment zone, using the normal fortification deployment rules. So that's pretty much over the wire. It doesn't come up very often unless you're both playing fortified companies. All right, one more mission specific rule that's going to come when you're a fortified company against a fortified company. So I'll just put that out there for the fortified company. Is no man's land patrol. And it's kind of a new rule for me because I've never played. I played a fortified company once, but I've never played against a fortified company with a fortified company. So basically, I'm going to kind of go with what they've got here. So if it has a no man's land patrol, and that's going to be 2 fortified companies going against each other in that same mission as over the wire, it's going to have. You get to pick 1 platoon, and it has to be at least 5 teams of infantry. So if this is my platoon that I choose and only has 3, 4 infantry teams, I can't do it. But if it has 5, 6, or whatever, so it has to have at least 5 infantry teams. And remember, bazooka counts as an infantry team. So I can nominate this platoon, any transports they have, any gun teams they might have, like they may have a machine gun team attached to them, so those can't go. And any fortifications they may have, such as a bunker. Those become leaderless platoons. They're not even part of that platoon anymore, pretty much. They're leaderless platoons. They stay behind. These guys go on advance towards the enemy. So that's what No Man's Land Patrol gives you. It has to be an infantry team, at least 5 stands. Anything else, like gun teams, transports, and all that, get left behind, and fortifications. Alright, so next we're going to talk about night fighting. And basically, it's really going to restrict your how far you can shoot and how far you can move. So nobody can move further than 8 inches. So this tank can normally go 12. But if you think about when it goes into like rough terrain and all that, it's limited to 8 inches. It's at nighttime, it's limited to 8 inches. My jumbo could only go 8 inches to begin with, so it's still limited to 8 inches. So when night fighting rules are in play, infantry, everybody can only move 8 inches, no moving at the double. It's too dangerous for them to be running around in the dark. Tanks to be zooming around on the battlefield. The Jeep to just be cruising around on the battlefield at night because they can't see where they're going. So 8 inches max movement and no moving at the double. Can't do that. All right, the next thing is how far can you shoot? So we've seen how far they can move, up to 8 inches, period. So how far can you shoot? Well, what you do is you pick a platoon, not your whole company, pick 1 platoon at a time. So I'm going to pick this platoon, and I could pick this warrior if I wanted to. I could pick one or the other. That's not my warrior. Where's my great warrior? There he is. All right, my second in command. So this is a warrior. It's not permanent part of this platoon. I can pick him or this one. But if I want him to shoot with them, I'm going to have him join first. So I'm going to have them join, and then you roll a die. And basically multiply the number you got by 4. So if I roll a 3, 4 times 3 is 12 inches. So they'll be able to shoot 12 inches, and I check each team. So I would go 12 inches from this one, 12 inches from this one, and so forth. And any enemy team that is within that line of sight and everything else and within that range, I can shoot if it's in range of the weapon. If the enemy's beyond that 12 inches, I can't shoot them. Now, let's say I rolled horrible and got a 1, so they can see 4 inches. There's no enemy team there. They don't have to shoot. So it isn't like, I have not to shoot by a shot anyway. So they've lost their gone to ground because they shot. They didn't move, but they shot. No, if there's nobody in range, they don't shoot, so they're still gone to ground. So keep that in mind. You've got the choice once you see how far you can shoot. Because they're not going to shoot blindly into the dark. Well, they might, but, you know, this is a game, so not going to happen. I will also say with movement, when you move a vehicle and it's going to have to do a bogging check, normally you roll, don't roll a 1. Hey, I didn't make it. However, at night, you have to do that twice. Successful. If I make it and then I roll a 1, if I can find my 1, then it becomes bogged down. So remember, at nighttime with bogging checks, roll twice. Or re-roll a successful. Not, you know, I didn't make it, so I have to re-roll. Think of it that way. But you could just roll 2 dice also. 5 and a 2. Because if any of them come up a 1, it's bogged down. Or if it's overloaded, a 1 or a 2. Ooh, it's overloaded. Oh, 5 and a 6, so it's not bogged down. So just keep that in mind. At night, it's very dangerous for vehicles to move around. So they're going to go slower, but it's harder for them to maneuver over obstacles also. Now, we want to do some artillery bombardment, and it's nighttime. Well, all you have to do is, who's ever spotting, remember, they can spot, the company commander can spot, the staff team can spot, their observer can spot, airplane, nope, airplane can't come out at night, so forget that one. I threw that out there and wasn't thinking. So, any one of these can spot. So what you have to do is when you want to do an artillery bombardment, roll, and I got a 4, so 4 times 4 is 16. If any of these can see an enemy that you want to bombard within 16 inches, they can do the artillery bombardment. If there's nobody within 16 inches of any of these, because think about it, your spotter may be up on a hill in a corner somewhere and may be able to spot somebody, then you can. If they're within 16, because that's what I rolled. If no enemy teams within 16, I cannot do the artillery bombardment. But, again, if they don't shoot, they're still gone to ground if they haven't moved also. Now, when you are shooting things at night, they are considered concealed. I'm going to put that in parentheses, concealed. Because it doesn't offer total concealment. It does offer concealment as far as you just trying to hit them. So it's 1 harder to hit the opponent if you're able to shoot them. However, if they are gone to ground, they are also concealed because of the night. So that does apply. Even if they're not concealed by anything like the bushes, so these infantry guys, well, I'm going to do a tank. This tank is concealed by this and gone to ground. Boom. It's too harder to hit them. However, normally they get nothing there. That gone to ground gives them nothing because they're not concealed. But at night, they are considered concealed. So they do get the gone to ground bonus also. Now, where this night concealment does not work for people or tanks or anything like that. Night is not considered a concealment against ambushes. So remember when I had the Shermans And then I had the stugs, and they couldn't be within 16 inches, but the shrubbery's there, give them concealment, so they can't be within 4. Even though it's night, and that's gone, and this kind of gives, that's why I did this concealment. It's concealment from terrain. So if this is ambushing, it's going to have to be 16 inches away from this, because that's line of sight and no terrain blocking. So it still has to follow that 16 inches back from them. If that terrain is there, then I can follow that normal rule. So don't think night as far as gives you the ambush closer stuff. It's still, you still have to follow the terrain, has to be there. Another rule is reconnaissance. So I'm going to use my Jeep for reconnaissance. And there is a special rule that if they move, and I talked about independent teams getting this too. I've already talked about that in one of my videos. That if they don't move at the double and they're concealed by terrain, they're considered concealed and gone to ground. Even though they moved, there's a special rule with reconnaissance. So they would, against the stug, they would be concealed and gone to ground. However, just like with the ambush, this concealing terrain is gone. Nighttime does not allow that special rule, so they do not gain that gone to ground. They still get the concealment. But again, with recon, and the independent teams get this also, the recon only gains the benefit of that gone to ground if concealed by terrain, not night. So there is even though it does give concealment, there's a few places it does not work, and that's with the recon and the ambush, as far as getting the gone to ground and how close you can ambush somebody. Now, I will say that, remember when one team's trying to shoot, they roll for how far, so I could see 8 inches. However, for things such as the ambushing and the recon team type thing, about how close. So if this recon team rolled a 1 on how far it can see, no team can still be put within 8 inches of that recon team. That boundary still applies. So you do not roll for how far they can see when trying to put an ambush down. You still have to follow the normal ambush rules of, can you get within 16? No, you can't get within 16. Or 8 or 4. You know, I've already gone over that. So as far as like putting ambush down and recon and stuff like that, you don't roll for how far. How far they can see is used for shooting only. And I've already talked about this in my aircraft with the ground attack and the AOP. I've already talked about this before in those videos. If it's nighttime, you can't use these. Oh my gosh, took it out. You can't use these if it's nighttime. You have to wait till dawn breaks. All right, last thing I want to talk about, time of day. There's 4 different times of day in the game. Daylight, darkness, dawn, and dusk. Now, daylight is what you're used to. You know, move around your normal speed. You can move at the double. How far they can shoot is like 32 inches. It's just a normal game. Darkness is just what I went over with the night fighting rules. So you're going to have to use how far they can shoot. So this is 1 times 4. They can go 4. So if this unit can see 4 inches, this how far can the stugs? And you roll for each platoon. So they can only shoot 4. So they're not going to do anything. They didn't move. So they're also gone to ground and concealed because night gives them concealment. They can see, oh, we got 6 times 4. They can see 24 inches. So that's when it's darkness, you use the night fighting rules. Okay, so the next one is dawn. So we've done daylight, normal game. Darkness, night fighting rules. So that means no planes and roll to see how far they can shoot. So next one is dawn. And basically dawn starts in darkness. So you're going to play the night fighting rules at the start of the game. Where it's going to change is when it gets to the defender's turn 3. That's where things are going to change. I'm going to put this out here as a reminder. So on turn 3, on the defender's turn, before they roll for their ambushes, they're going to roll 1 die. And it's just like trying to bring in the plane, rolling for reserves. 5 or higher is what you're looking for. If they roll a 5 or higher, night fighting rules are gone for the rest of the game. If they don't, the game continues in darkness. So I rolled a 4, so the game's going to continue into darkness. Now, it's the start of the attacker's turn 4 now. So defender didn't make the roll. Now the attacker's going to roll, and again, it's before they roll for any ambushes, whether or not they have them. It's just before that happens. They're going to roll 2 dice, and they need a 5 or a 6. Oh, got a 6. So night fighting rules are going to happen. If they didn't, it's going to be now the defender's turn 4, and they get 3 dice. And this adding dice keeps happening until a 5 or a 6 is rolled. So it isn't like rolling reserves that when you roll 3, you're automatically guaranteed at least 1. So if this was rolling for reserves, I'd at least get something in. Night fighting, doesn't matter how many, I could be rolling, whoa, I lost them all. I could be rolling this many dice because all the other times I haven't rolled a 5 or a 6. It just happened. So starts at turn 3, and in everybody's turn, once defender goes, the attacker, defender, adding 1 die each time until a 5 or a 6 is rolled, then night fighting's over. So that's how you do dawn. So you can guess what's going to happen with dusk. It's actually daytime. But guess what you do on a defender's turn 3? Yep, roll 1 die. Before ambushes are revealed, 5 or 6, the game's gone to night. So it's just the exact opposite of dawn. You start a night fighting, you roll to see if you go to nighttime. At dusk, actually, I said that backwards. You start in darkness and you roll to see if daylight happens. In dusk, it is daylight and you're rolling for when night fighting starts happening. So dawn and dusk do the same thing, but one starts in darkness and goes to daylight. The other one starts in daylight and goes to dusk. So those are different times of day. Daylight you're used to. And then there's the darkness rules. And dawn starts in darkness, goes to daylight. Dusk starts in daylight and goes to darkness. So that's it for this video on special mission rules and some stuff with night fighting and time of day. So until next time, have a good game.